everybody, Mr. B here, and welcome to the loft. So I woke up today. It's very gray, it's very dreary, it's drizzly here in Atlanta, and put me in the mood for some chili. Now, you know, sometimes when you get in the mood for the chili, a little ground beef with the chili packet, some tomato sauce, and voila, you've got chili. But I'm going to take this just up a couple of notches. I'm going to do a 3-meat, 3-bean chili that is fire alarm hot. I think it's going to be fire alarm hot. We'll see, right? We're going to be using pork, lamb, and beef. And for the beans, these are canned. I'm going to use pintos, black beans, and some red kidney beans. So for the peppers, I'm using like a red chili, a poblano, and a serrano. I'm going to chop them up, a couple of bell peppers, you know, for some sweetness. I'm going to fold that in with some beef stock and some tomato sauce. So let's get this going. Let's talk about the meat situation here today. So first up is I've got some beef stew meat, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to break these down just a little bit further so they're smaller bites. Like, see, that's quite large. So we're going to trim that down. Next up, I have 2 bone-in lamb chops, right? So we're going to break these down. We'll be working on getting some of the fat out of there. We'll leave some, we'll get rid of some because we're going to want that flavor. Last up, I have a bone-in pork steak here that we'll also kind of cut down. So we're going to get this started, and then we're going to season it up, and then we're going to start browning this off in batches. One thing I will say is I know that this looks like a lot of meat, and it is, but I'm doing a double batch here because I'm going to give some away, as you've heard me say before, as well as put some in the freezer to eat off of all winter, really. So we'll get started on the meat right down here. Next up is going to be this pork steak. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this, pretty ginormous fat off of it here. And then what we're going to do is, this is a blade bone here. This is basically a Boston butt, just a sliced, kind of in a Western style rib sort of way, just thinner. And we're going to get it off the bone here. Just kind of carve it out of the bone. Don't leave that little bit right there. I guess that's that. And then we will break this down. Next up is going to be our lamb chop here. Now, you're going to have to kind of feel around on her and figure out where the bones are. See, there's one here. It feels like that there is some kind of tendon, sort of rib bones here. Maybe I'll start by trying to get rid of those. Okay. You know, so you're kind of left with this. You could continue to trim it off. See these riblets here. I don't know that I'm really going to fool with it. There's also a bone in here. But what I am going to do is I'm going to set this off to the side and throw this in a little baggie and freeze it, because this would make for some damn good soups and stews this winter. Now with the lamb, it is going to come with, this is clearly a fatty cut of lamb, okay? That's why it was priced the way it is, but it's perfect for something like this. It will have some of that silverback on it. You're going to want to get rid of it. Maybe save it for a bean pot, because it's otherwise it's not going to be a real pleasant experience per se in the chili. We have the meat all broke down, and I'm going to take the opportunity at this point to heavily season all of this with equal parts salt and pepper, and I put it in another little container here to avoid cross-contamination. I'm out of rubber gloves. I don't mind touching raw meat, but when I'm filming, I like to have the gloves on because it, you know, just keeps everything cleaner. And we're going to get everything going here. Heavy, 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 heavy. okay? And then we're just gonna massage everything in, give everything a flip, and try to get as much of this meat coated with the salt and pepper as we can here, right? This is just kind of a base layer of flavor here. This is intended to really sort of bring out the natural flavors of the meat in question here. All right, and let's get it with another. And we're going to set this aside and let this salt and pepper do its magic while we break down our vegetables here, and then we will start searing off the meat. So I wanted to show you kind of the veggie situation that we've got going on here. I'm going to use an onion, and I've got an orphan here, so I may as well bring that down. I do like a green bell pepper in my chili, but I also have a red, so I'm going to get it, add that to it as well. Now for the heat, I'm using serrano and some of these red chilies and poblano, which I've never really worked with like this before. And it would be awesome if you had a gas stove to kind of char these off and everything and break them down. I don't, and I'm not going to roast them off in the oven. It's just not the same to me, so it is what it is. Now, this is going for some hefty heat. That's my goal with this. So if that is not for you, you could leave it out, but then in my opinion, it's not really chili anymore. You could use one green jalapeno and de-seed it and rib it, or you could use a combination of these depending on your threshold and de-seed them and everything. But I'm going all in here. So anyway, I am going to break these down, and I swear eventually we're going to start cooking something. When I'm chopping my peppers, the hot ones, right, like jalapeno serrano, all of those sort of things, I am going as fine as I possibly can, right, because I want this heat and this pepper flavor to infuse, right, and this is how I attempt to achieve that, right. So here we have it into our vegetable bowl. I'm just throwing everything together, the onions, the bell pepper, all of it. When we get to the point to saute it, it's all going to go in at the same time. I'm not going to mess around with adding onions and then adding to this and adding to that. One thing I failed to mention is you need a shit ton of garlic, so don't forget it like I almost did. We're going to start browning off our meat. Like I said, we may have to do this in batches. Hopefully that's hot. Yes, that's what I want. We are raging hot. I want this to kind of brown off, right? Which means that it's going to need to have some room in the pan to do that. Okay, now we're going to let that kind of make its love, make its contact with the skillet and fry this up. While that is cooking, I want to talk about the spice blend that I'm using here. This is in addition to the salt and pepper, equal parts chili powder, cumin powder, Aleppo pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I don't think I'm leaving anything out there. In any case, I'll leave this will have a recipe in the description below, as well as some links where you can find some of this stuff. I'm going to season this layer of meat up and give that a stir to coat. This first batch of meat is where I want it. Don't worry about this brown stuff getting up on the bottom of your pan. You really want that, and we're going to make sure here in a moment that does what it's here to do. So we're just going to set the meat off to the side here on an unlined plate. Okay, do not put this on paper towels. Get this back on the center. Now, in goes our vegetables. And you want to get the vegetables all nice and coated with those juices. And I'm going to tell you, be careful because the chili will go straight up your nose. And we'll take the opportunity to just give this layer a little bit of the seasoning love. I am so sorry that fan is on. So sorry about that. I'm sure that was annoying. Season love, yeah. Our vegetables are good and soft now. So I'm gonna add in my shit ton of garlic and let this go about a minute. Now that our garlic's flame, I'm gonna add what's the size of this? 1 6-ounce can of some tomato paste into this, or most of it. And we're gonna cook this tomato paste to get that rawness out of it. It's just gonna make it extra tomatoey, if you ask me. It's gonna get a little tight on you, don't worry about it. But you do kind of want to keep it moving for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to loosen this up with a little bit of chicken stock. You could use white wine. Hell, you could use a bottle of beer if you wanted to. I'd intended on using a beef stock for this step. However, the date on it's bad. You know, shit happens. All right, next up is 1 28-ounce can of these peeled tomatoes, and we're just going to give everything a squish with our hands carefully, because this will make a mess. Next up, 2 28 cans of crushed tomato. And then we're just gonna rinse our cans with a little bit of water. And the water goes. Start to incorporate that. In goes our beans. In goes the meat with all of the drippings that have collected on your platter. Start to incorporate. That's what I'm talking about right there, y'all. I'm gonna put a good spoonful of this Better Than Bouillon in here, because it's just gonna give it that extra, beefiness. And I would have done this even if I'd have had some beef stock versus the chicken stock. I would have still have done this step. It's just gonna deepen it up a little bit. Last but not least, 1 cup of black coffee. Now, if you've got some coffee still sitting on the counter from this morning, use it. This may sound strange, but it just makes all the world of difference. Chili is all about depth to me, right? Depth and heat. I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. Chili is a known, multicultural kind of dish that has layers and variations. And there would have always been a cup of coffee laying around. Hell yeah. Gonna go with a little bit of this seasoning in here. Touch of salt and pepper, but not much. We'll check it at the end. 1 last stir, kids. We're gonna bring our heat up, cover it, bring it to a boil, vent your lid, and then let it go. It's about 3:30 now, and I'm planning on letting this go to, at least 6:30 or so. All right, guys, our chili's been going now for several hours, and just look at how rich and thick that is. I've taken a taste test. It's amazing. But we are going to we're going to plate this up and garnish it off, and then we'll give it a real proper test and see how we did. Now, to garnish this, I am going to do a little bit. Let's start with maybe some pepper jack cheese. I like that. You know what I'm saying? And maybe a little bit of cheddar cheese. All this is, to your liking, right? You could do avocado, you could use some corn chips, whatever. I'm gonna do a dollop of some sour cream, because hell yeah. And then I'm gonna finish this off with some fresh green onion just for some freshness. There you have it. Perfect bowl of chili for a fall day, y'all. So there you got it, guys. Let's give it a taste, see how we did. Now this is exactly what I wanted. And it was worth the wait. The flavors go very, very deep and down, and they're very warm and they're comforting. The heat level is perfect for me, but again, as I said, you do you and adjust as you see fit. Yes, indeed. I'm going to leave the recipe for this one in the description below, and I'll also link to some of the ingredients that you can pick up on Amazon or what have you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider subscribing, click like, and come along for the ride, kids. We're going to see you next time. Cheers. All right, one last thing. Now, you can pair this up with some cornbread, and that's pretty amazing. And to be honest with you, I also like to have a peanut butter sandwich with it. But for tonight, y'all, I'm going with the saltine crackers. We'll see you later. One, let's let the siren go by. Hope everybody's okay, as Auntie Chef would say.